Loddle, 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 loddle. There's a loddle these guys, huh? The game begins with us spawning into our home cove. This is going to be our base of operations for the rest of our mission here in this game. We're this little astronaut looking guy who has been hired by the Guppy Corporation to come clean up some of the waste that they left behind. We'll be exploring this underwater biome and trying to seek out all of the trash to help clean up the environment for all of the natural wildlife. In our home cove, we have a couple of options. There is the shipping station where we can upgrade our different equipment and buy new structures, the crafting station where we can craft different items. We don't really use these ever. And finally, we have the litter recycling stations where we can put our different trash that we collect from out in the ocean inside of them and convert them to items that are actually useful for us. The only caveat being we have to sort them by their different types, such as plastic, glass, electronic, that sort of thing. Once we finish cleaning up our home cove, we earn the achievement learning the ropes for completing the tutorial, and we get told to head out to Ripple Reef, which will be our first major assignment on the planet. This game isn't actually as linear as you might expect though. There is actually an open world and the open ocean that we need to travel through to get to our different sites that we're going to work on throughout the game. And here we learn that there is trash out here as well, and also this purple goop stuff that we need to clean up, which we better get used to because it's going to be in the entire rest of the game. I think using the bubble gun kind of falls into the oddly satisfying category though. You just hold down one button and it does it all on its own, but you get to see the transformation happen and it just feels nice to the brain. Eventually we make our way out of the open ocean though, and we come across Ripple Reef. So we see that this place is extremely polluted because of some of the actions that Guppy took. But we're not really here to know about all of that, we're just here to clean up all of this pollution and trash and restore the natural biome. The level starts out with a kind of dark purple haze over it, but as we begin to make some progress getting some of the trash and pollution gone, it begins to lighten up a little bit, so this is a good indicator of our progress. But we actually uncover another secret while we're working on cleaning up Ripple Reef as well. We earn the achievement A New Friend when we find our first Loddle. Now this little guy is completely covered in goop. I tried to clean him off with my bubble gun, but the voice in my head told me that was a bad idea, so I guess we'll figure out what to do with this later. Yeah, that later's actually right now. I went to refill my oxygen, and completely on accident, I find out that if you pass a dirty Loddle through the oxygen tube, you get them cleaned up, which is how we earn achievement number 3, Squeaky Clean. We don't really want to put our little buddy back out into this polluted biome, so we better go ahead and get this the rest of the way cleaned up. And once we hit 100% clean on Ripple Reef, we earn the achievement Cleanliness is next to Loddliness, which is a great joke. But now this biome is cleaned up, and we could technically leave some Loddles here, or we could move on to the next biome cleanup. We return our Loddle to the home cove, and we head to our next area we need to work on called Flotsam Flats. So this is the same kind of deal. We need to go around picking up the trash and cleaning up the pollution. The major difference with this biome though are these metal crates that we can't quite break into with our current strength of gun, so we're going to need to get an upgrade, and that's pretty much going to be the story of every biome. Surprise, surprise, as we're working our way through this biome, we find another one of these dirty Loddles, so I guess we'll have to take care of this one too. But an interesting thing, as we're exploring around with this Loddle, we actually earn our next achievement All Grown Up for evolving a Loddle. Don't really know what that means because we didn't do anything, but I guess we'll figure out later. One more stop before we can check on that evolution though. We stop and find a hollow badge and earn the achievement Lost and Found. These are the badges of the former employees that we need to collect and return. So let's get into breeding and evolution a little bit more. This will be a big thing for us in the late game, but for right now all we need to know is that we can put Loddles in the cleaned up biomes, and they can pretty much take care of themselves with evolving and reproduction. But we also have the option of leaving them in our home cove where we are responsible for feeding them, which will get them to their different evolved states. So we got that achievement earlier because we left a Loddle out in the wild that was able to evolve on its own, but if they're in here, we need to work on them specifically. And it's good we decided to work with this guy. Each of the Loddles actually have their own favorite food, so when you feed it to the first one, you earn the achievement Picky Eater. So now a little break from the Loddles. We convert some of the trash that we found earlier and use that to buy our new upgraded gun that we can take and take out some of those metal crates that we saw before, which, surprise surprise, have even more trash in them. We take our crate destroying gun and open up the top of a ship, and we discover that there's been a Loddle trapped in here for who knows how long. That's actually pretty sad. But in addition to opening up that ship, this gun also allows us to finish up our cleanup process of the entire biome, which will allow us to progress in the story. No achievement this time, but progress is progress. Before moving on to the next biome, we decide to stop by and visit with that first Loddle that evolved. It evolved into a Whisker Loddle. This is one of a handful of evolution forms that we'll need to obtain later on. We can't dawdle for long though. Our next stop is Tangle Bay, so same deal here, we're going to need to clean up all of the pollution. But this time, the biome is also contaminated with microplastics, which is weird because I thought those were stored in the balls, but I guess they're in the ocean now too. And of course, you probably could have guessed, we can't collect the microplastics with our normal gear, so we need to buy an upgraded gun and then head out and collect the microplastics once again. And surprise, surprise, as we clean up Tangle Bay, we find some more Loddles. These guys are really going to start eating us out of house and home. We go back and play with the Loddles a little bit more before we return to Tangle Reef and finally get everything completely cleaned up and ready to move on to the next biome. And then we return and work with the Loddles a little more. It's a pretty safe assumption that we're working with the Loddles between pretty much everything that we do at this point. We do get our first close-up look at the Loddle evolution process though. Once they've had a couple of meals, they will go into one of these green cocoons, and then eventually they will pop up as their new evolved form. On our way to the next biome, we decide to take out some more of that open ocean trash, and we earn the achievement taking out the trash for collecting a total of 500 pieces of litter. Our next biome to clean is the fuel refinery known as Grimy Gulf. Now this one is a very dark purple and seems quite gross, with even some weird purple baked into the ground. We find some more Loddles and pick up some more trash, but we still can't figure out a way to get those dark purple lines off the ground, so we return to the base and pick up a new upgrade to hopefully help us out with that. When we return to Grimy Gulf, we hop on our new little car and earn the achievement Vroom Vroom for unlocking the Puddle Scrubber. I've gotta say, I kinda like this thing. It makes me feel a little like Stuart Little while I'm piloting this little car around taking out all the dirt and grime and stuff. It's a great time. I wish I was doing this more. While editing this section, it was extremely obvious that I kept swimming past this one piece of trash I had left, but eventually I finally found it and we managed to complete this biome, and we're actually ready to move on to the final major biome area of the game. But before we can get to that final biome, we do have to earn the achievement Rock Bottom for entering the Metzi Trench. This is some more of that open ocean trash that we need to clean up. I mentioned earlier that you can play with Loddles as well, and I thought that this was just buying different toys for them that they could play with on their own. But here we actually earn the achievement Loddle Lover for petting a Loddle, which I wouldn't have known about without the side quest. Back to the main story though, we finally make our way to our final biome, and it is actually Guppy's corporate campus. Now this was once up in space, and it managed to collapse and fall down to the bottom of the ocean, causing all of this pollution. So this one is going to take a lot of work. Our first achievement of the area is called In Deep Water, which we find for just making our way up to the CEO's office, which is nice and easy, honestly. We even find the old CEO's badge, which we can just use like a baseball card, I guess. I love Galena Mafia. I'm sorry this is so disjointed, but this is just kind of the way that this game is. Between every one of our missions, I've been spending a lot of time going back and working with our Loddles. For the most part trying to find their favorite food, because I thought that was just kind of a fun thing to do for them. But all of that changed when I actually learned that there is a machine we can use that will allow us to cook actual meals for the Loddles that are more like real food. And we earn our achievement for that, but this really opens up the opportunities and the options for our Loddles mealtimes. We actually don't need to buy any fancy upgrades for this one, and we finish up cleaning the Guppy campus, and we earn the achievement A Job Well Done for cleaning up all of the biomes. And we are at the end of the game. This is a really short one. We got here in just a couple of hours, and we could technically get on our spaceship and leave the planet. But that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and get all of the rest of the achievements before we conclude the game, so it's grind time. While we're making our way back to our home base, we kill some more of those crates in the open ocean, and we earn the achievement Crate Crusher for taking out 80 of them. That's pretty cool. We also find the final collectible holo badges that we need, which allow us to earn the achievement Employee of the Month. Those were pretty nice collectibles. I didn't have to look up a guide or anything. You pretty much just find them by walking around. It's time to start making our preparations for the longest grind of the game by far. So we actually earn the achievement Loddle Squad by getting 5 Loddles to follow us at once, which is achievement number 17. But our real goal here is that we need to get these Loddles repopulating. For the most part, we've been keeping them in our home cove just so we can keep an eye on them. But the downside of that is that they don't reproduce in your home cove. So we could have been working on this for quite a while, but we didn't really realize. The reason we need so many is we need to see all of the different evolution forms, which will be a headache, and we also need to fill every biome to maximum capacity, which will just be a waiting game once we get them installed. So let's start the process. We do still have a few more miscellaneous achievements that we can earn here though, such as who needs oxygen for running out of oxygen for the first time. This was no big deal while we were playing the actual game, so we just did it at the end here. There are a couple decent guides online on how to get the different Loddle forms that we need, and for the most part it's just feeding different Loddles different combinations of food and hoping you get the correct evolution result. But this is a little rough because there is a timer on them eating that takes a while. We are making progress though. We earned the achievement Packed Like Sardines for getting one biome all the way filled to capacity while we were working on this other project, so that's something at least. The basic process that we use for getting our Loddles reproducing is pretty much what you would expect. When a biome hits maximum capacity, we go and pick up some of the guys and move them to one of the lower capacity biomes to get the breeding going even faster. And this worked decently well. There's probably faster ways that we could have done this, like doing it during the story mode, maybe. Our next achievement is actually really sad. It's called Farewell Friend. You need to take a baby Loddle out into the open ocean and choose to release it. Then they give us this long bye-bye Butterfree-esque cutscene that it actually makes you pretty sad, even though I have no emotional attachment to this Loddle because it just spawned. And finally, we earn the achievement for seeing all Loddle evolutions, called Loddle Possibilities, when we get the final form to pop. This took minutes of video time, but actual hours of my real life, so, you know, this one was a bit of a struggle. So now all that's left is to max out our Loddle capacity in all biomes, which is basically looking at the map and moving Loddles around when we need to. This one definitely took less time, but it's kinda helped by the fact that we needed to breed Loddles for that last achievement anyway. We do get to spend a lot of cool time floating around looking at all of our Loddle friends, and a lot of them are in different forms now actually. Even the ones that we had trouble getting on our own have managed to evolve into different forms on their own. And finally, once we get all of the biomes filled up, we earn the achievement Loddles Rule the World, and we have done everything there is to do on this planet, so I guess we can leave now. We return to the home cove one final time, we pack up our supplies and hop in our rocket ship to leave Gup 14, and we earn the achievement So Long and Thanks for All the Trash. We get a nice pan over all the different biomes, and we can say we have done everything in Loddlenaut. So how did we do? I beat this game in just about 7 hours, which is actually quite high for how the average person tends to spend on this game. But that's because I kind of made some mistakes. If I was going to play this game again, I could definitely do it much faster, but that kind of gets to another point. I probably will never come back to this game again. And that's not to say anything negative about it, I just don't think that I will. If they made more of these, more of this kind of game, visiting different planets, different pollution, I could definitely get into another one of these. I was super gripped by the beginning of this game, but the long grind at the end, even though it wasn't that long compared to some other games, it was a little annoying. But I think this was a great one of those kind of turn your brain off, you're just swimming around picking up trash, holding down a button with your zap gun sort of games. Like I said, I would definitely play a Loddlenaut 2. I don't know if they're planning on making another one of these. This is the only game that the studio has made, so I guess we'll see some point in the future maybe. But I hope you enjoyed checking this out. I know this was kind of a shorter video, but we've been putting out some of the long content that we've been working on over the last few weeks with GTA and Dishonored, so it's nice to take a little break, step back to a shorter indie game. I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and also leave any comments on games that you'd like to see me take on in the future for the achievement hunt. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time. See ya!